Big Juke, who's Yo Gotti's older brother, just got killed after leaving.
2024. Shots rang out in the parking lot of a Memphis restaurant. Within minutes, Big Juck, the older brother of hip-hop mogul Yo Gotti, lay bleeding on the concrete. But a new video on the street just revealed Yodi Music finally took justice into his own hands and got revenge on the killer. We have all the gist. Let's get into it. The rise of Big Juke and the Memphis Empire. To understand what happened on that January afternoon, we need to go back, way back to the streets of Memphis, Tennessee, where two brothers were building something that would change the city's music scene forever. Anthony Mims, known to everyone as Big Juke, wasn't just Yodi's older brother, who was the backbone of an empire, while Mario Yodi Mims became the face of Collective Music Group, signing platinum-selling artists like Moneybagg Yo, ESTG, and Glory. Big Juke operated behind the scenes as a project manager and talent scout, the man who kept the machine running. His Instagram wasn't filled with flexing music or showing off. Instead, it was dedicated almost entirely to promoting CMG events and artists. He was the music connector, the facilitator, the one who made sure the business side of things kept moving while his younger brother collected accolades and chart positions. Music, but in Memphis, success comes with a price, and that price often gets paid in blood. The story of Big Juke cannot be told without music mentioning the man whose shadow looms over everything that follows. Young Dolph Adolph Music Thornton Jr., better known as Young Dolph, was everything the Memphis rap scene needed and feared. At the same time, music, he was independently wealthy, fiercely loyal to his Paper Route Empire label, and absolutely uncompromising in his vision. When Yodi came calling around Music 2014, offering Dolph a chance to join CMG, Dolph did something almost unheard of in the music industry. He said, "No, if it's something about you, I just don't respect, Roger. I can't sit and fake in music and act like it's all good. That's understandable. You know what I'm saying? Like the first time I even met Little Dude going into the studio, first time he's seen everybody out the studio music. Like let me haul a dog, like man you got your own. Everything you, popping like you got the money. You got your team, you got this, you got that, like bro, I'm telling music we can do this." That rejection didn't sit well, and what started as a business disagreement slowly festered into something far more music dangerous. The feud between Yo Gotti and Young Dolph became the stuff of Memphis legend. Music, it wasn't just about record deals anymore. It was about pride, territory, and who could legitimately claim music the title of King of Memphis. In February 2016, Young Dolph released his debut album, literally titled King of Music Memphis. On the exact same day, Yodi dropped The Art of Hustle. The message was clear. This wasn't just competition. Music, this was war. I'm just over an eye. I looked into this beef. I was really trying to figure out the Yodi Young Dove beef. Supposedly. Right. Some people say it was over a girl. Some people say Gotti wanted to sign Dolph, and Dolph didn't want to sign. Right? Some people say, well, both of them had crews. They were into some street underscore or whatever. All this sounds very unnecessary for it to turn to murder life sentences. The disrespect went both ways, but Dolph took it to another level. In 2017, he released Play With Music Yo, a track so vicious it mocked Yo Gotti, calling him Hody, and featured a Gotti lookalike being humiliated in the music video. The song didn't just music attack Gotti, it went after Big Juke specifically. There was a very vicious diss song, where Dolph was dissing Gotti's brother. Big Juke, who obviously has become a big part of this, he's obviously part, his life was taken in the end, but that was one side of the beef. Dolph dropped that very, very vicious diss track, was it? I think it's called Play With UAB, yeah, absolutely tore Big J and Yo Gotti apart. He had the body double in the video. That was fighting talk right there. In Memphis, words like that don't just fade away. They echo through the streets, through the housing projects, through the trap houses and the music studios. And they demand a response. The response came in bullets. In February 2017, Young Dolph's bulletproof SUV was sprayed with over 100 rounds while he was in Charlotte, North Carolina. Miraculously, Dolph emerged without a scratch and performed his music concert that same night. The incident inspired his album, Bulletproof, and the single 100 Shots. Music turning what should have been a tragedy into a marketing triumph. Black Youngsta, a CMG artist, was among those initially music charged in connection with the shooting. The charges were eventually dropped, but the message from Dolph's music camp was clear. Someone on Gotti's side had tried to take him out, and they had failed. Then in September 2017, Music Dolph was shot multiple times outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles. Yo Gotti was staying at the same hotel Music at the time, and initial reports named him as a person of interest. The LAPD later cleared Gotti, but his associate Corey McClendon Music was arrested for attempted murder before being released without charges. Through all of this, Dolph survived. He kept making music. He kept making money, and he kept music talking. But Big Juke, according to prosecutors, he was keeping score. What allegedly happened next would only come to light years later, in a Memphis courtroom, when a man on trial for his life started naming names. Prosecutors alleged that Music Big Juke, frustrated by years of disrespect and failed attempts on Dolph's life, decided to put a price on his rival's head, $100,000, for whoever could finally silence young Dolph. And, allegedly, he wasn't stopping there. Court documents that surfaced during the music trial revealed a hit list. Young Dolph topped it at $100,000. Key Glock, Dolph's cousin, and Music, the second biggest artist on Paper Route Empire, was allegedly worth $50,000. Other PR members had smaller bounties. PR Woo Music at $50,000, Snoop Bands at $20,000, and Moochie Grape at $5,000. As more information is coming out, there was a list of people that Big Juke, allegedly put hits on. Yeah, like you said, Young Dolph was $100,000. Aki, who was the second biggest artist on label, was $50,000. Pre-Woo $50,000. Snoop Band's $20,000. Music and Moochie Grape $5,000. So, he was allegedly putting hits on a whole bunch of people. If this allegations were true, Big Juke wasn't just involved in music, the music business. He was running a one-man war against Paper Route Empire. And on November 17th, Music 2021, someone finally collected on the biggest bounty of them all. The murder of Young Dolph and the trial music that changed everything. November 17th, 2021, the day before Thanksgiving. Young Dolph pulled up to Music Nikita's homemade butter cookies, a small bakery in South Memphis that he'd visited countless times before. He was in town for his annual music turkey giveaway, giving back to the community that had raised him. He walked in alone, looking to buy some of his favorite cookies. He never walked out. Two men emerged from a stolen white Mercedes-Benz, Music armed with a semi-automatic rifle and a handgun. They opened fire through the bakery's window, striking Dolph 22 times. The attack was captured on surveillance video. Music, a cold, calculated assassination in broad daylight. Memphis went into shock. Tributes poured in from across the music industry. But in certain corners of the city, people weren't mourning. They were celebrating. The investigation moved fast. By January 2022, police had arrested two men they believed were the shooters. Justin Johnson, an aspiring rapper who went by Music Straight Drop, and Cornelius Smith, a third man, Hernandez Goin, was charged as the alleged mastermind. Music, the one who put the hit together, and Justin Johnson's half-brother, Jermarcus Johnson, was charged. Music as an accessory. But the question everyone wanted answered wasn't who pulled the trigger. It was why, and more importantly, who had ordered it. That answer came in September Music 2024, when Justin Johnson's trial finally began. What unfolded in that Memphis courtroom Music was nothing short of explosive. Cornelius Smith, facing his own murder charges and staring down Music a potential life sentence, made a decision that would shake the foundations of Memphis hip-hop. He agreed to testify against his co-defendant, and what he said changed Music everything. Smith testified that he and Justin Johnson had been recruited by Hernandez Goin Music to carry out a hit, a $100,000 contract that allegedly came directly from Big Juke. According to Smith, Music, the money was supposed to be split, $40,000 for each of the shooters, with Goin taking a finder fee. Juke's the money man, calling the shots. Quit puts you and Justin together, right? And you and Justin are cool with each other and interact with each other over the months. You said at least 5 times. You're having conversations with Justin. Is that correct? Yeah. I was teasing the phone, like, you know what I'm saying? I need that money for the party. You know what I mean? But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. According to Smith's Music testimony, the promised payday never materialized. Instead of $40,000, he received a grand total of $800. $500 delivered in a letter from... Is that right? Yeah, $800 for Z taking a man's life. Smith also dropped another bombshell. He claimed that after the murder, someone Music from CMG paid $50,000 for his legal representation. When pressed on who exactly arranged this payment, Smith admitted he didn't know specifically Music, but maintained the money came from Gotti's label. Shelby County Deputy District Attorney Music Paul Hagermannerman painted a picture of calculated murder driven by ego and industry rivalry. According to prosecutors, Big Juke had invited Justin Johnson to Atlanta, dangling the promise of a CMG recording contract. The message was clear: eliminate the competition and you'll be rewarded with fame and fortune. The prosecution argued this wasn't just street music violence. It was a corporate hit dressed up as gang activity. CMG versus PR, label versus label, and Young Music. Dolph was the prize that had to be removed from the board. Smith testified that he and Johnson had tracked Dolph's movements during his Thanksgiving turkey giveaway events, waiting Music for the perfect moment to strike. They knew his schedule. They knew his habits. They knew he'd be vulnerable without heavy security. When asked why Music, he did it, why he helped murder a man who had never wronged him personally, Smith's answer was chillingly simple. He said music was trying to get some money amid personal struggles, including his son's death and drug music use. The murder happened on his daughter's birthday. He said he did it to make it rain for her. Music. Justin Johnson's attorney, Luke Evans, attacked Smith's credibility relentlessly. He pointed out that Smith was testifying in hopes of receiving a reduced sentence, that every word out of his mouth music was calculated to save his own skin. Evans argued that the evidence was circumstantial. Yes, there was surveillance footage. Yes, the clothing matched, but could the jury really trust the word of a self-admitted killer who had everything to gain from pointing the finger at someone else? In the music end, the jury didn't buy it. On September 26, 2024, Justin Johnson was found guilty of first-degree music murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. He was music sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The trial had answered some questions. Justin Johnson would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Music. Cornelia Smith's fate remained. Hernandez Goen was still awaiting trial, but the man allegedly at the top of the conspiracy, the one who music supposedly put up the money and called the shots, Big Juke, was dead. He had been killed 9 months before the trial even began, before he could ever be questioned, charged, or held accountable for the allegations against Music Hem. And that killing, it remains unsolved to this day. And then, ultimately, he got killed himself. Yeah, and not just killed, but like the way that he was killed was, very gruesome and brutal. They caught him after a funeral. Music, There was a rumor going around that the shooting happened in front of his mother, and the footage of Juck bleeding out on the ground was even circulating on social media. So, it was a very gruesome way. The assassination and the unanswered questions. January 13, 2024, a Saturday afternoon in Memphis. Big Juke had just attended the funeral of Eric Bovan, a relative who had once been known as a Memphis cocaine kingpin. The family gathered afterward at Paranon's Restaurant and Event Center. Music on Winchester Road in Hickory Hill for the repast, the traditional meal that follows a funeral service. According to police reports, an officer in the area heard multiple gunshots around 4:15 p.m. when they arrived at the scene. Police arrived at the scene to find 2 victims suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. One of them, Big Juke, 47 years old, was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. A second victim survived and was listed in stable condition. From the very beginning, investigators focused on a white Ford Explorer SUV believed to be connected to the shooting. The vehicle reportedly had dark-tinted windows and black wheels. Witnesses told police they saw suspects speeding away in the SUV, and surveillance footage later confirmed the same vehicle fleeing the scene at high speed. Police released images to the public, hoping someone would come forward with information. But then, silence. As of August 2025, the Memphis Police Department has not identified any suspects. No arrests have been made, and the investigation remains officially open. In a city filled with cameras, eyewitnesses, and national media attention, the lack of progress raises unsettling questions. How is it possible that a high-profile killing like this remains unresolved? Some believe the answer lies in the unspoken code of the streets, where silence is survival. Others suspect something darker, something deeper, operating beneath the surface. Many people have openly questioned why the family remained in Memphis at all. The danger had clearly escalated beyond words, beyond warnings. Shortly after the killing, one of Gotti's restaurants was reportedly shot at, reinforcing the belief that the situation had moved into dangerous territory. To many observers, it was no longer about pride or loyalty, it was about survival. Gotti had the resources to move his loved ones elsewhere and never look back. Perhaps the most haunting detail of Big Juke's death is what he shared on Instagram just one day before he was killed. On January 12, 2024, he posted a message that now reads like a warning from the future. They don't want to face you, they want to snake you. Stay alert, stay alive, watch your back at all times. Less than 24 hours later, he was gone. Whether this was intuition, paranoia, or knowledge of a real threat remains unknown. What is clear is that Big Juke lived his life fully aware of the dangers surrounding him. In the absence of official answers, speculation quickly filled the void. Big Juke's death came after years of allegations, tying him to the murder of young Dolph, allegations that were discussed publicly but never resulted in formal charges against him. That timing has caused many to draw their own conclusions, even if none have been proven. Hip-hop history is filled with tragic ironies, where violence comes full circle. Observers point to other high-profile cases where mockery, taunts, and online bravado were followed by deadly consequences. To some, Big Juke's fate feels like part of that same grim pattern. Energy put out into the world eventually coming back around. After his death, Social media activity from individuals associated with Paper Route Empire added fuel to the fire. Some posts appeared celebratory or cryptic, referencing dolphins and seasons, which many interpreted as indirect messages. Others dismissed this as people reading too deeply into online noise during an emotionally charged moment. Still, the history of public taunts and disrespect between rival camps made it difficult for many to ignore the symbolism. Videos resurfaced of Big Juke allegedly mocking young Dolph on live streams, making comments about snakes and suggesting dominance. From the outside looking in, the optics were troubling. Even if the truth remains unknown, music manager Whack 100 added another layer to the controversy when he publicly warned Yo Gotti, following revelations from the young Dolph murder trial. He suggested federal authorities could potentially pursue RICO charges against CMG, framing the label as a criminal enterprise. As of now, no such charges have been filed. Throughout everything the trial, the allegations, his brother's murder Yo Gotti has remained largely silent. He has not publicly addressed claims made during the trial, nor has CMG responded to allegations about covering legal fees for convicted individuals. Some view this silence as smart legal strategy. Others see it as suspicious, and some believe it is simply grief handled privately. Big Juke's funeral was unlike anything Memphis had ever seen. Helicopters hovered overhead, snipers were stationed on rooftops, and police presence was overwhelming. The security measures spoke volumes. Whatever happened, Yo Gotti and his family were not taking any chances. The atmosphere underscored how real and immediate the threats were perceived to be. As the conversation turns toward solutions, frustration sets in. Artists like Rick Ross have publicly called for peace, urging people to put the guns down and rebuild communities. But even those calls are met with skepticism. Some believe violence in certain corners of hip-hop culture has become so normalized that it's accepted as unavoidable. As one artist bluntly put it, people have been killing forever, and many believe it will never stop, that the toll is undeniable. Young Dolph is dead. Big Juke is dead. Justin Johnson will die in prison. Families are shattered. Fans are left wondering what music and legacy might have existed if things had gone differently. There is also the looming possibility that Yo Gotti himself could one day face serious legal consequences, which would only add another chapter of loss to an already tragic story. As this chapter closes, the questions remain unanswered. Who killed Big Juke? Will anyone ever be held accountable? And is there any end in sight to the violence that continues to claim lives in Memphis? The investigation remains open, and police continue to urge anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers. But in a city where silence can mean survival, where speaking out can cost your life, justice may never come. Justice may never come.